Hey there, welcome back once again. It is time for the golden age of DC Comics, 365 days, where I take this well-loved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been surfing my coffee table ever since and has been a constant source of comic book shop style conversations, the kind I intend to recreate here, now, today, with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a conversation that we are having. I'm talking to you, and you can talk to me in the comment section. So leave a comment, be part of the conversation, and interact. Yes, this is a 2004 Abrams publication, written and curated by Les Daniels, Chip Kidd, and Geoff Spear. There is a link to the Amazon page in the description. If you want your own copy, it will look great on your coffee table. You can play along at home, and it makes a great gift for a geek. I know. I use this 365 days book for its intended purpose. We're going to open up to today's date, September the 22nd. We are going to look at some comic book art from an antediluvian age. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books and history. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So let's get to it. The golden age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. That's a big chunk of history, of world history. It's the United States had just gotten out of the Dust Bowl. It was a famine time. There was the Great Depression. And now kids had something that they never had before. Pocket change to spend on a 10-cent, 12-cent funny book. You know, and then World War II happened. And then the horrors of World War II were discovered. And then the space race began. And that's pretty much the golden age of comics. And especially at this book here, the golden age of DC Comics. So that runs between 1938, the first appearance of Superman in Action Comics #1, to 1955. The Silver Age begins in 1956 and runs until 1970. The Bronze Age, I'm a Bronze Age baby myself, from 1970 till about 1984 or 5. And then the Copper Age begins in 1985. I get these standards from the glossary of the most current edition of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. This is an invaluable resource for any comic fan. It really is. I swear by this. Also, 2 other books I want to throw in your stack. I want to throw under your nose and suggest these 2 books are really fun and informative. It's Understanding Comics by Scott Mccloud, The Invisible Art. This is invaluable. It's art history. It's about storytelling. It's about this visual medium that we love. And How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. This is an insider's view looking out of comic books. We usually are the outsiders looking at the panels and at the art. This is about appreciating the genesis of it all, and that is the forms that we see in this visual art. I just love what we do here. I love comic books, and if you love comic books as much as I do, you are in the right place at the right time. So let's get to it. I also usually include about this time in the beginning of the videos. I now put at the end. It's called the Escapism Caveat, and it's in its own video, and you can find it here at the end of the show. It's about the needs and the neediness of activists, activism, agendas, advocacy, message sending, and perhaps even something we're touching upon today in today's episode, propaganda. Correct. I said that word. Yes, and I mean it. But balanced, you have all of these real-world concerns that you're bundling up and putting into our escapism, where we go to literally forget about the world's problems just for a few minutes. So I tackled this subject, and you are welcome to contribute to that conversation. Leave a comment, please. I would love to hear your mind on this matter of mine. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing awesome, and I hope you're clobbering your problems and not being clobbered by them. Let's get to it. We're going to look at some comic book art from an antediluvian age, from wartime, to be honest. And it's actually also football season, too. Football season's in gear. I'm more of a hockey fan myself, but that's right around the corner, too. You know, it's getting colder. It's officially fall. So, this is art by Mac Rayboy from the cover of Captain Marvel Jr. number 13, November of 19 43. Holy jingoistic propaganda, Batman! Or is it's Captain Marvel Jr.? And here we have 3 people. Now, if you look behind Captain Marvel Jr., the football, near the goalposts, you'll see someone's head there too, okay? There are 3 people here. I mean, 4 people, 1 hero. The other 3 are world leaders of the Axis. And the one by the goalpost that he's already, put on the ground, that's Benito Mussolini. And over here by his hand is, AH, not Johnny Depp's ex-wife. But, I don't want to get flagged by the algorithm, the mighty algorithm. It watches us. It keeps track of what we say. It does. And, and so you know who that is. And behind that, too, and that's maybe a trigger warning, perhaps, but, that's Hirohito Tojo, Hideki Tojo, the leader of the Empire of Japan of World War II. And he has, that's yellow skin tones, to simplify the message quickly that's Tojo, or could be Tojo, or at least is a Japanese person. Was it stereotypical? Sure. Was it? But I think back then, it didn't. Yes, there was racist qualities to it, sure, and it could be used that way too, and especially using as in derogatory fashions too. But also, there's a neutral space that there were just visual shorthands that you had a very limited time. You had one opportunity visually, symbolically, iconically to deliver information. So we can unpack this. We unpack this with our brains and minds. And we know exactly who those 3 people are that Captain Marvel Jr. is busting through. But let's read the blurb real quick. Autumn begins. Propaganda produces some strange imagery, but rarely anything as odd as this cover, on which Captain Marvel Jr. takes to the gridiron to challenge the Axis leaders of Italy, Germany, and Japan. Benito Mussolini, A.H., not to be confused with Johnny Depp's ex-wife, and Hideki Tojo. Captain Marvel Jr. carries the ball for democracy. Crowds crows the caption, and perhaps the idea actually cheered people up. Yeah, let's look at that art one more time. I love this Mac Rayboy art. I love his... I love this Captain Marvel Jr. art. I mean, that's really cool. For me, he's got such great design of his costume, great use of the colors, how there's a variation on the theme of Captain Marvel, Shazam himself. And, but yeah, let's talk about history. Let's talk about propaganda for a second. So is this jingoistic? Yes. Is this propaganda? No. In my humble opinion. I'll say this why. I have the Oxford Dictionary that I got here on Google. Propaganda, as a noun, information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. So I don't see Republican or Democrat or Independent in that image. I don't see a misleading nature, and I don't see... I don't see a misleading nature there either. That's what I mean to say. Yeah, I don't see anything misleading. Now, sure, is it jingoistic? Yes, that means it's supposed to invoke some national pride. It was a war going on, a legitimate enemy. We're not calling these names to people we disagree with on Twitter. Hello, bye. Oh. People are so insufferable and obnoxious. I remember the first time I got called a Yahtzee on Twitter. It hurt. It hurt my feelings a lot. But I got over it. And it's just, now it's like, who uses these and for why? Once again, I ask, cui bono? Who profits? Seriously. What are you getting out of that, huh? Just leverage? Trying to shut me up? Exactly. That's an ad hominem. But really, I didn't know this, but I knew about the death of A.H., not to be confused with Johnny Depp's ex-wife. And I knew about Benito Mussolini, but I did not know about Hideki Tojo. And the thing about A.H., not to be confused with Johnny Depp's wife, and Benito Mussolini, is that they died a day apart. Mussolini was caught with his girlfriend and some trying to cross the border, and they were just rounded up and put against the wall, and then their bodies were strung up in a piazza in Milan, and for everyone to see, and and when it came to A.H., that was so. Mussolini was on the April 29th, 1945. A.H., not to be confused with Johnny Depp's ex-wife, suicided by a gunshot on April 30th, the next day. Yeah. And, and his wife of one day took a cyanide pill, and he had left instructions that their bodies were to be burned, and they identified that it was definitely A.H., not to be confused with Johnny Depp's ex-wife, through dental remains. And that's is that irony? Is that cosmic irony? That like El Duce and his, A.H., not to be confused with Johnny Depp's ex-wife, and his beloved El Duce met similar fates, just a day apart. But Hideki Tojo was convicted of being a war criminal and executed on December 23rd, 1948, after trials. And he was 46 years old. And he was a head of state, and he was tried and convicted as a war criminal. And then he was, given his 13 steps and a rope, and that's mercy. And wow, yeah, I didn't know it. I didn't know about that. So that's what became of those three, those opponents that got knocked down by our very own Captain Marvel Jr. during World War II. I mean, and sic, some more Latin for you. Sic semper tyrannos. It's a Latin phrase that means thus always to tyrants. Unfortunately, that's got the historical luggage. If that's what John Wilkes Booth said to Abraham Lincoln when he shot him in the back of the head. But all the same, the fates of those three leaders of the Axis there, well, thus always to tyrants, huh? And that's what we were fighting for. It was the free world, and let's never stop fighting for the free world. And we've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. That's right. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books every day. We talk about cooking. I'm also known as the Sultan of Soup. So if Wes from Thinking Critical sent you by, all you got to do is say to the cashier, Doc sent me, and we'll get you half off of that bowl of soup. All right? Thank you so much for tuning in today. God bless. Namaste. Good luck, and we will see you again in those funny pages tomorrow. Cheers. Bye-bye.